YouTube friends and family to today's prepping edition of the Wellness Homesteader. So today you find me in my long-term pantry, and you may have noticed from the last time I was in the pantry that things have changed a little bit. So I did reorganize. I've invested in some can holders that make things a lot easier to see and to access. I've shared in a previous video my, which way I'm going backwards, my 5-gallon buckets. And I'm very excited because this week on Thursday, I will be doing my first Azure Standard bulk goods haul. So my pantry will become even fuller. So in preparation, I did purchase another shelf. So this first floor master / office / soap display room has now turned into an ever-expanding pantry. You've all seen my kitchen. You know that I have very limited storage space there, including in the pantry, which is teeny tiny in the kitchen. So I do not use this room as the first floor master. I have decided I'm going to let this room work for me, and I have 3 additional bedrooms, so I really don't need this one since it's just me. So I've been promising that we're going to talk more about being prepared, or prepping, if you want to call it that. The reason I don't like using the word prepping, and I'm going to use it a lot in this video, and it's probably going to be in the title, is because I think prepping has developed a negative connotation. So many people think prepping means that you're a little weird, that you think the world is coming to an end, or the zombie apocalypse is coming, or all the woo-woo things. And it's something that is done out of fear. To me, prepping or being prepared is more about looking at what the future potentially could hold, what you would need should you not be able to access our normal food chain supply, our home goods supply, and what you need to keep on hand. Surprising little fact about me, I hate to shop. I absolutely hate it. I would rather be whipped than go to the grocery. It's just, I go in and there's like so many things and it's extremely overwhelming. And no, I don't have ADD, but I feel like I do sometimes when I'm in the grocery store. So I've had to really have an attitude adjustment in order to stock up in the volume that I've been able to stock up. We also saw a lot of supply chain issues in 2020 with all the things going on, just leave it at that. And if you're a watcher or reader of news, I do not watch the news. I read my news. I'm very selective because too much negativity and false news can lead you down a path you don't want to go down. So we are still experiencing supply chain issues. There is a shortage of truck drivers, which are so vital to our food delivery system or a product delivery system. There are also shortages in things that we obtain, I'll just say from overseas. I've shared about a glass shortage. And guys, I tried to link the Ball Fresh Tech electric canner for you in my last video. You can't buy one. You cannot buy one. I've been researching some different items that I want to purchase, and my poor Amazon cart saved for later is very overburdened because I simply cannot afford to purchase all the things at once to be totally prepared. However, I do have a really neat new tool I want to share with you on how you can calculate what you should be preparing in your home and how much of it you need. So stay tuned. Before we get into the meat of the information today, I wanted to thank you all for your kind comments. You know, for every nasty comment that I get, I'm getting 100 very nice messages and interaction. And I love reading your comments and having interaction with you. And I even like to email back and forth. So if you want to email me, And I'll leave it in the description box, sweethoneybath@gmail.com. I love getting to know you all, and it really does help me as I develop content for my channel. So I could share a lot of things with you all that you probably wouldn't be interested in that I like to do, especially crafts. Guys, I could have a total separate craft channel, but right now we're in harvest season and I am in high prepping mode. So that's what we're going to talk about. But I did want to share with you, let me tip down here, my shirt. And guys, if you hear that it sounds like they're taking down my house or blowing something up, they're still working on the gas line. I am still blessed with a porta potty in my front yard, and God bless them. They have had a lot of rain, a lot of challenges, and this is a huge, huge project, and I just appreciate those people. I had not shared with you all too, before I share my shirt, I had a major disaster about a month ago. I was decorating my step back cupboard, which you've all seen in videos. It was full of my blue Bennington pottery that I've collected for years. That is out of my price range now. And I was, putting things on one shelf, taking them off, getting ready to switch the cabinet section with the top because I wanted to put some of my fall and Halloween dishes up. And somehow, guys, and by the grace of God, Frankie was not under there, or even me. The entire top of the step back cupboard did a 180, landed on its top. Every piece of pottery that was in that cabinet shattered, with the exception, and this is God's provision, of my grandma's oil lamp. How that survived, I don't know. It did break the globe, but I have other globes, so that wasn't, and I don't think it was an original globe anyway. It was the base I was so worried about. My big pottery bowl, and then I have probably what's a 5-gallon mason jar that's decorative, that is actually electrified. It has a candle that burns in it that's set on the top, and it flung all the way across the room. I could not get that cabinet. The doors are leaded glass. It did not break either of the doors, any of the glass. It just broke all my pottery. But it's just stuff, guys. My phone was underneath it. Did not break my phone. Frankie ran the second he heard, and he's always like me in my shadow. He ran the second he heard the glass breaking. What are you doing, mums? And I was able to get out of the way. I did try to stop it, so I had a sore arm. That was it, guys. And I can't lift the top. It actually latches with a throw bolt that you throw over and push down. There's 2 of them. And how it had never fallen before now, I don't know. A friend and her son, a former friend and her son, I'm not mad about the cabinet accidents happen, had moved the cabinet for me after my back surgery. I'm never moving it again, and failed to lock it into place. So, I mean, thank God it didn't hurt my mother when she's here, myself, or it would have killed the cat. The top weighs over 100 pounds. I'm making this a long story. I did not know what to do. I couldn't even flip it over, let alone lift it up. So I had called my next door neighbor. I have great neighbors. And I thought, I still can't lift it because the base is so high. I would have had to lift it way up to get it on top. So I humbled myself and I asked one of the construction guys, and they were so kind to come in to help my next door neighbor. They lifted it back into place and locked it. And, yes, I'm missing some pottery. A pepper shaker survived too, which kind of cracks me up. But you know what? It's just stuff, and I can get along fine. And in fact, several of the pieces of pottery that broke were potteries I picked out of a dumpster. So yeah, no big shame. So my shirt says, well-behaved women rarely make history. And while I have no desire to be famous, I have a desire to share and help others with what burdens my heart in being prepared for what may happen in the future with supply chain, with aging. Guys, I'm 60 and a half now. You know, I'm not getting any younger. It's not as easy as it once was. I can't weekend warrior projects anymore because my body protests. So I do want to share that. I get a lot of flack, and I just want to bring this up because it might be happening to you too. So, not my son. Let me leave him out of this because my son is prepping on a small scale as well. But I'm getting a lot of flack from my family, from some of my naysayer friends who think I'm absolutely crazy, that I've gone off the deep end, that I'm not well behaved, and that all of this is completely unnecessary, a waste of time, money, energy, and effort, and they look at it as hoarding. So what I want to share with you is this is not hoarding. There has been a method to my madness. I have done extensive research, and that's why I want to share it with you. I've also made plenty of mistakes, let me tell you. And then I've made some happy mistakes. I've shared before two mistakes. One is making way too much jam and jelly because I love to can it. And number two is, at one point, I had 14 jars of peanut butter, so I was way overstocked on peanut butter. But let me share with you, I found a really good use for peanut butter. Even though I prefer unsalted, unsugared almond butter, I can use the peanut butter in my homemade granola bars. And the jars are small, so, you know, I'm actually dwindling my supply. So that was a happy accident. And oh my goodness, what was the second thing that I made the mistake on? Oh, the jams and jellies, I'm sorry. I found that you can put a spoon of jam into hot oatmeal, and we're getting into oatmeal season, and it's absolutely delicious because I'm not a jam and jelly eater. I do want to focus next year because I did not make a lot of jam and jelly. I did make some. I want to focus on trying to have some low or no sugar recipes, and I'm also going to look, I've got some coconut sugar ordered. I'm going to see if I can adapt some recipes so that I'm not consuming so much cane sugar. And it is pure cane sugar. It is not organic. I have not been buying organic sugar. So anyway, those were a couple happy accidents. I also have more pasta than I really cared to eat. I'm not a big pasta fan, believe it or not. But I had a friend in need, and I have been able to share with her. So, you know, I don't feel like I've wasted any money, time, effort, or energy. It's all been a very good project and a very good learning experience. So, how do I calculate what I should be storing? I would like you to stay tuned. I'm going to share an amazing website with you that is going to answer all of those questions much better than I can. Well, let's get into how do you calculate what you should be accumulating in order to provide for yourself and your family. So, and I've shared in previous videos, there's no good source to say this is how much you need. Oh, yes, there is. So I'm going to hold this up, and I will leave a link in the description box. This is ENZ prepping.com. This site, guys, is amazing. It has a food storage calculator. Yes. So as with any guideline, you have to think about what you will eat, what your family will eat, take into account any intolerances or allergies. But it is just amazing. So what you do, you can calculate 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, or a 1 year food supply for you and your family. So when you click on use the food storage calculator, and guys, there are a lot of ads. I do not pay to go ad free, so just be careful what you click on. So what you do is, and I apologize that it's not clearer, I'll just read it to you. Number of adult family members age 7+. So for me, it's 1. Number of younger family members age 0 to 6. So I can enter 0. Then I can choose, do I want 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, or a 1-year food supply? My goal is the 1-year food supply. Believe me, I did not start out that way. And it just has, you just click on it, it has a drop down, and I'm going to choose 1-year supply, and then it automatically calculates. So I don't want to go through the whole thing because we would be here till like next week. So I'm going to choose a couple today. At the end, I'll share with you what's coming up next and how I'm approaching this. So once I found this, I definitely pulled the trigger on the Azure standard bulk order because I felt like it was very clear guidelines about what I needed so that I wasn't overbuying, underbuying. And Azure standard for me, I can get a delivery, I can pick up a delivery monthly. So if I'm off, it doesn't mean I can't go back for a year. So believe it or not, the very first thing, and we're going to talk about grains and we're going to talk about water. So the total amount of grains I need is 390 pounds. I hope I won't weigh 390 pounds when I'm done with the year. But 200 pounds of wheat, 70 pounds of rice, 30 pounds of flour, 30 pounds of oats, 30 pounds of pasta, 30 pounds of cornmeal. So let me just share with you, I am not going to eat 30 pounds of pasta ever because I just don't care for it that much. So if I take away some pasta, I'm going to add it into oats because I eat a lot of that, and my cornmeal because I love cornbread, or maybe I will add some to my wheat. I also, if you see on this shelf right here, things are actually in bags, but they've been vacuum sealed. So let me show you. For example, this is 2 packages of pinto beans that I have vacuum sealed because up until now I have not had buckets. I have lots of rice too on hand, so I don't need any rice. I've got enough easily to last me a year. What I didn't have is a good storage with the gamma lid, so I will have it as of Thursday. Oops, let me get back on here. It went to sleep. So that is what the calculator looks like. And just as I shared with you, you can adjust it for what you eat. Maybe you hate rice and you'll never eat rice, or maybe you have an intolerance to rice, or maybe you don't want that much wheat because you have some problems with a gluten intolerance. And I'm going to share a little bit of thought on that here in just a moment. So I have gone through the calculator at length. I used that to base my order on. And what I did, I already have some pre-ground, as you know, things. So I already have bread flour, all-purpose flour, rye flour, cornmeal. And I'm ordering whole grains because I got a grain mill and I want to be able to grind my own. So between the two, I am now at a year's supply of grains. And I'm super encouraged by that because 3 years ago when I started prepping, I did what many of us do. I bought rice and beans because that's what everybody said to do. Well, I love beans and I like rice. I won't say I love rice, but I like rice. But I didn't really think about all of the other things that I might want, like cornbread, like freshly baked bread. So over this year, 2021, after going through 2020, I decided I needed to better educate myself and really concentrate on building my pantry in such a way that if my health declined, if it became difficult for me to access food for whatever reason, I would be able to survive on what's here without imposing on my son, who lives 4 hours away, to come help me. Also, my mother, which you've all met if you've been on my channel for a while, and I will share an update on my mom as well. If she were to need to access food, I would be able to help her. Well, hello, buddy. Did you want to say hello? Yes. Look here. Look at the pretty kitty. Look right there. Oh, there's a pretty kitty. You want to say hello? You going to tell the people hello? Say hi? No? Cat got your tongue? All right. Well, hello from Frankie. He has a new word. Mm-hmm. Which really isn't a word, but I swear he's half human. Okay. So I'm getting kind of off track, and now I have cat hair everywhere. Poor Buddy is really shedding. So I'm kind of going to go down a rabbit hole. So this video will probably be entitled Pantry and Homestead Chit Chat, because I'm doing a lot of chit chat, but I would like to ask you all for your prayers. I never want to share information that's disrespectful to my mother, ever. But I want to share that my mom has had a pretty significant decline in her cognition or her memory. So yesterday was her annual physical. My mom and I actually have the same physician. Mom's been going there for about 40 years, so he's been able to see my mom change. And Medicare will pay for the annual physical, but there are certain tests that they have to do, and one of those is called a mini mental status exam, or an MMSE. So here's the questions that they ask in a mini mental. What year is it? What month is it? What season is it? What city are you in right now? They will give you 3 words, ask another question, come back to those 3 words. How much can you recall? And then the final piece, which I think is difficult and I've never liked it in a mini mental, is take 100 and subtract 7, then subtract 7 from that and go backwards as many times as you can. So my mom is extremely social. You've all seen her on video. And sometimes a social person can hide their dementia or memory impairment by covering it with chit-chat and social nature. So I thought my mom would do fairly well. I didn't think she could do the math, and I figured she probably couldn't recall all 3 words. And I've watched my mom have this test on an annual basis. She did not know what year it was. She said it was April. She said it was summer. Of course, it's fall. And she and I have talked about that a lot, but she couldn't remember it. The 3 words were, just to give you an idea, baseball, purple. I can't remember the 3rd word, but of course that was yesterday. She couldn't recall any of the words. And she, surprisingly enough, could subtract 7 from 100 once. So the only thing that she was able to achieve on that test was just the subtraction. So I am working on getting my mother approved. My dad was a veteran. She's entitled to survivor's benefits. I'm trying to get her approved to make it possible for her to go into a memory care assisted living. And I would just ask you all for your thoughts and prayers for my mom, for me. My mom has not gotten the vaccine. The doctor yesterday decided that it was time, since my mom is homebound, but because of the variant and myself and the caregiver going in and out, even though we're vaccinated, it's a problem that we could carry the Delta variant or the R2 or the Sigma. I mean, there's so many different things coming out about variants that are out there. I've heard as many as 5. So this morning when I spoke with her, she said, my arm is sore where they gave me the vaccine. I said, Mom, you didn't get a vaccine. I most certainly did. They stuck me in my left arm, and I could not dissuade her that she had not had a vaccine. So for me, seeing my mom in that condition is very upsetting, very difficult. And I just want the best for my mom. Hang on, I'm going to gather it together. Okay, guys, excuse me. Didn't know that was going to happen. As my dad always said, your eyes are hooked to your bladder, because I do cry very easily. All right, so I'm going to leave it there. Would greatly appreciate your thoughts and prayers on the matter. So I do want to also be able to have food for my mom should um, perhaps the caregiver is unable to be there or food is in short supply, whatever the case might be. I just want to be able to provide as well for my mother. Okay, enough about that. So Thursday, I will get my gamma buckets or my gamma lids and my buckets. And I have a huge Azure Standard haul that I want to share with you. It's over 200 pounds. So I'm really hoping that I can manage all of that, but I'm hoping to do a video late on Thursday that will be up on Friday showing my haul. I'll leave a link in the description box below to Azure Standard. You can go on their website, you can enter your zip code, and it will tell you where the nearest drop points are to you. Many of them are in a public place, so you're not necessarily going to someone's house. The coordinator for the delivery, and it's a big semi truck that comes, they will list their contact information. And if you don't have one near you and you're very interested, you can apply to have a drop site near you and be the delivery coordinator. So just some information for you if you're having trouble sourcing whole grains to grind with the food mill or grain mill for bread and other I'll say wheat-based products, you know, muffins and pancakes, etc., etc. Okay, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to talk about water. Then I'm going to back it up and talk about how you get started. So they have the same calculator for water. And I'm sure you've all heard the CDC recommends a gallon per person per day. I've shared in many videos. That is one place I don't do well. However, there is a company, hang on, Augustin Farms, and I will leave links for all of this stuff in the description box. You can buy, that's the manufacturer, a 55-gallon barrel. It's plastic, it's BPA free, and it's food grade. And I'm going to talk in a minute how you would store that water to have on hand. So I don't have the storage space for all of those gallons of water. My water is in my garage, and I really don't have, I could get through a few days, a week probably, with the water I have on hand. I do have a rain barrel, but as the temperatures drop, that rain barrel will be emptied and go into storage because in Ohio, of course, it freezes, and we don't want that barrel cracking. So how do they come to the 1 gallon of water per person per day? So they're saying a half a gallon for drinking, a fourth of a gallon for cooking, and a fourth of a gallon for washing. And they don't specify washing your body versus washing something in your environment or your clothing. Well, a quarter gallon is only 38 ounces. So if you can imagine 5 drinking glasses of water is all you have for the whole day to bathe yourself if you're a daily hair washer and clean your environment and your clothing. That is not very much. So it becomes vital if we lose our water supply, even for a short period of time, for whatever reason, to have some water on hand. That is actually for every adult 30 gallons a month on average, or 360 gallons a year. So I am not about to have 6 of those barrels in my garage. I am always going to be a little short on supply on water. But as I've shared before, I do have a stream behind my property, so I would be able, it's not potable, but I would be able to gather and treat that into a 55-gallon drum. So you want to make sure whatever 55-gallon barrel you buy, or 50, that it is food grade plastic and it's BPA free, that the lid closes tightly, that it's durable, And actually, I saw the recommendation on the Easy Prepping site that said unbreakable. Nothing is unbreakable, but let's say break resistant. And you need a pump and a hose to extract the water if it doesn't have the spigot on the bottom. So it's basically like a hand siphon. So if you've ever siphoned, say, kerosene fuel for a kerosene heater, you know, you tighten the lid, or tighten the button, then you pump it up and it will start the siphon for you. And then you're going to need a lid opener for easy filling. So it's called a bung, B-U-N-G, or a drum bung wrench. Say that 3 times really fast. So it's about $185 on Amazon for the Augustin Farms barrel, and it does include, in addition to those things I mentioned, a water treatment pack. So you can't just put water in a 55-gallon drum and say, I have it, I'm good. So how do you even go about storing that quantity of water? Well, the first thing you're going to want to do is clean and disinfect that 55-gallon barrel. So here's how they recommend that you do it, they being Easy Prep. And I think this is pretty sound. You want to remember that tap water and well water is not sterile. So there are microorganisms in there that are not going to harm us to drink it, but left in a barrel, they will multiply and become stagnant, contaminated water. So you can boil water for 1 to 3 minutes and then put it in the barrel. Oh, you know what? I apologize. I was talking about clean and disinfect. So it's a tablespoon of bleach per gallon of water. You want to fill that barrel all the way up, and then you want to let it sit. Now, it says 1 minute. Guys, if I'm going to waste 55 gallons of bleach water, which I would probably save as much of it as I could for cleaning or for other things, you know, on immediate use, but let it stand. Then you want to empty it out and let it air dry. So that will prepare your container. Then you want to add potable water. So you don't want to go to the creek. You want to use well water or your city water, your tap water. So you have to disinfect that water. So you can do it a few ways. You can boil the water for 1 to 3 minutes and then put it in the barrel. You can add unscented bleach, which I know a lot of people are bleach adverse, but if you're using straight chlorine bleach, unscented, you know, no fancy foo-foo things added to it, you only need 1/8 of a teaspoon, or about 8 drops per gallon. And that's 2 tablespoons and a teaspoon for all 55 gallons. It breaks down, guys, into salt and oxygen over time. So it is not going to harm you. And I'm just here to tell you, your tap water, if you're on city water, already contains chlorine bleach. You can also use water purification tabs. That's certainly the most pricey way to do it. And then once you have your barrel full, it will be good for 6 to 12 months, but you do want to check it and then retreat it. And my plan is to check it every 6 months, because mine will be in my garage. And the problem that I have is, even though I have an insulated overhead door, the garage is not heated or cooled. It never freezes, so I can keep my water out there. But in the summer, it gets very, very hot. That's why my pantry is not in my garage. So I thought breaking it down pretty easily. Let's first just start talking about the grains, which we just discussed, and the water. If you have those 2 things on hand and you start focusing on that, you will be well on your way to being more prepared than you are today. That's for sure. So what else do we need to think about? What's coming up in future videos? So canned meats and dried meats. Let me reposition the camera here for just a moment, or grab some things, and I'll show you examples of what I'm talking about. Okay, so some categories we'll be talking about in upcoming videos. Just some food for thought for you. is canned or dried meats like jerky. I don't eat jerky because it's hard on my implanted teeth. So if you don't like it, don't buy it, guys. I like Spam, fully admit it. I'm not a huge meat eater, but fried Spam and kidney beans are so good, just saying, with a lot of garlic. Tuna. And you'll notice that I have used a Sharpie to write expiration dates. I guess I missed that one. But that way I was able to organize the newest things in the back, the things that need to be used first in the front, and then things like the canned chicken. This makes excellent chicken salad or just to put on a salad. This is a great thing to have. And I have other canned meats that I'll share when we get to that video. Then fats and oils. So I do freeze my butter. So I'm not going to show you butter, but you can freeze butter if you did not know that. So other fats and oils that I keep on hand. So yes, I buy olive oil in the gallon. I buy Great Value. I buy the extra virgin. The reason I buy it in the gallon is because I use it in my soap making as well as in consumption. So a gallon may not be practical for you from the standpoint of rancidity, or you may want to have smaller bottles. I also keep lard. Now, things are really good fried in lard. However, this is primarily what I use for my soap making, but I have fried foods in lard. You can also render if you're buying your meat in bulk, or you're buying like half a cow, you can have them include the pieces of fat to render down for tallow, which is good for soap making as well as cooking. I'm not a big fan of tallow from a taste standpoint, and I don't like it in soap making as much because I find it drying, believe it or not. All right, beans and legumes. I have such an assortment, and that's why I'm so excited for my jars and my buckets to come. So chickpeas, you can grind these whole beans into flour so that you don't have to have a million types of flour on your shelf if you like to cook a lot of various things. So I have chickpeas, I have split green peas, makes a great soup. I have pinto beans, I have black beans, I have Great Northern beans, I have kidney beans, I have all the beans. So this is a great thing to have on hand, easy to store as well. Then you want to think about your milk and dairy. So things like the non-fat dry milk, which I use in my bread making, I just store it in jars like this. Also, you can freeze milk. You can freeze half and half, and you can freeze whipping cream. And from those things, you can make things like sour cream, a cottage cheese. So it's good to have both frozen and dried versions, as well as canned milk, like canned evaporated milk. You can also buy, let me lean over here, shelf-stable milk in cartons like this. So I do not drink a lot of cow's milk. Well, I don't drink any cow's milk. I drink almond milk, and you can buy almond milk as well in these shelf-stable containers. All right. Sugars. So I buy my sugar, my cane sugar, in 25-pound bags. You cannot vacuum seal it. I keep it in the half-gallon jars. It works out great for me. And then I just offload it, if you will, into my big sugar canister when I'm doing canning. I don't consume that much just sugar. I am going to be trying the coconut sugar, which has less effect on your blood sugar, and I'll share about that when I do my Azure Standard haul. Other sweeteners. So this is pure maple syrup. I use a lot of that in both bread making granola, and then this is from Pifer. It's the raw honey that they have. It is so delicious. So I keep plenty of that. I have 3 containers of that on hand. Cooking essentials, things like salt, baking soda, baking powder, How much of that are you going to need? I made a commitment to myself that I was going to prepare all 3 meals from scratch without using convenience foods for the most part. So no store-bought bread, no hamburger helper, nothing like that. Not only has it greatly decreased my grocery bill, if you just look at what I'm consuming, not what I'm stocking up on, to make it from scratch. Is it more work? Absolutely. But I'm avoiding a lot of additives, preservatives, and unhealthy things for my body. And then, of course, fruits and vegetables, and I didn't pull any of those. These are all veg. There is some fruit and soup up on the top shelf. So we're going to explore those items using the Easy Prep calculator as we go along in this prepping series. So, are you feeling overwhelmed? I know I still have periods of overwhelm because as I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm like, you know what? I had stocked up on my salt, my pink Himalayan salt, but I need baking powder and baking soda, and I don't have that in bulk. So it's easy to get overwhelmed. So what I really strongly suggest and how I'm trying to present this is pick one category and really focus on that. Doesn't mean you can't be prepping and buying 2 instead of 1 of things that you're purchasing at the store. But as you start ticking off those categories, and water has always been a big hole in my preparation, you will start to really feel like you're getting a handle on things, and you'll also find that you do save money. I am the first to admit I am an impulse buyer. I will see something at the store and be like, oh, wow, that looks good. And I'll veer off my list and end up picking things I don't need. I just want. So having things in bulk where you're not going to the store so many times saves gas. If you're concerned about, we're coming up to cold and flu season, plus what's going on with COVID right now, especially in my area, it's less exposure for you, less wear and tear on your car, and you're just not going to have to worry. And you can make pretty much anything you want simply by going to your well-stocked pantry. The second thing I would say, if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, is think about what food you might be able to grow for 2022. Goodness, I've talked so much, I'm thirsty. So, in my Amazon cart, which is heavily burdened, saved for later, there has been a very difficult time, in my experience, buying the little bit of raised beds. And I do have a lawn service that can bring me the topsoil to fill it with, and then I amend it with my compost, etc., etc. I really want to expand my garden because it's fairly small, and I want to change up some things. Having the veggie pot and getting a lot of those herbs out of my garden space because they're so proliferative, i.e. mint, which I haven't a mint for the universe. I'm actually going to dig up some of that mint and divest myself of it because I have so much. But there are some raised beds, and this is a good time to buy it because we're post-garden season. So a lot of places are clearing them out in preparation for the new styles for 2022. So I am looking at purchasing 2 8-foot long, 4-foot wide galvanized metal raised beds to add to my garden. So start thinking about, well, what can I grow? Even if you live in an apartment, what can I grow in containers or pots? Can I do some greens through the winter months? Because greens extend the growing season on either end. You can plant late and plant early as well. And I think the final thing is budget for preparedness. So sit down and take a look at your budget. And I would recommend you look at, for maybe a month at a time for the last 3 months, every time you went out to eat, every time you stopped at the grocery. You can go to your bank account and just look at the debits or checks or however you're doing it, unless you're paying cash. But how much did you really spend? And if you were more prepared, would you not have stopped or ordered out or ordered a pizza out or purchased too much at the grocery because you were tempted by some new things on an end cap? And then budget. What is a fair amount for you to be spending on food per month? Where can you squeeze out some extra money where you're not spending money on going out to eat or extras, and actually put that towards a prepper pantry, we'll call it. All right, I hope that this has been helpful for you and not overwhelming. Remember that it has taken me 3 years. This is, I will say, store-bought food in most part. I do have all of my home canned items in my other 2 pantries, my 2 pantry cabinets. And yeah, it's a process, guys. And it's placing the importance on being prepared and having that sense of security and being willing to squeak out some money or set aside some money to actually prepare. All right, I'm going to read up what's on the table here, and then I'm going to give you a few homestead updates and we'll be finished. So just a little homestead update before we end the video today. I've been really focusing this year on making every bit of food that I've grown really count. And I've shared that I have a total overabundance of herbs. That has been sort of like overwhelming to me. I have harvested all of my rosemary, but I had beautiful basil, which is one of my favorite herbs. So I just grabbed this out of the freezer. It doesn't look very appetizing, I know. Basil, if you just freeze the leaves like individually, turns black and it's not very appetizing. But I've learned through some research, and this is actually the second batch, and I finally harvest all of it, of frozen basil that I've done. So what I did is I just filled up my food processor, started it up, and then drizzled in some extra virgin olive oil to like get sort of a paste consistency and put it into an ice cube tray. Then I can pop these cubes out. I vacuum seal them, just a few cubes per package. You could use a freezer bag. I just like vacuum sealing because you get a lot less freezer burn. It really does make a difference in keeping your food fresher longer. So I am very pleased that I have harvested almost everything. I still have some calendula, which I use both in my soap making. And if you didn't know this, you can make a tea because calendula is naturally antiviral. So it's really good for you. And it's actually quite tasty as well. I still have some tomatoes. They're green. I'm hoping that they will ripen, but I left about half of my tomato plants that still were bearing fruit. I left them in, so I haven't torn those out. I have one jalapeno plant left. You all seen how many jalapenos. I purchased quite a few, but how many I can grow. So probably whatever is left on the vine, I will harvest and eat fresh. I will be planting my winter garlic, and I'm just waiting to get my garden cleared out so I can use that space to actually plant the winter garlic. I have half a bushel of apples still that I need to deal with. And what I did was I grabbed every canning book I had. So I found, this is the USDA version, and this is the Ball book. I did find a really good recipe for apples in syrup that you can make a very light syrup. So I'm thinking that I'm going to just can some apples because I have tons of apple butter. I have spiced apples, and I do have apple pie jam on the shelf. The rest I am going to actually peel, slice, freeze them in a single layer on a cookie sheet. Once they're solidly frozen, I'm going to put them into a vacuum sealed bag because I purchased some protein powder that is Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal flavored, and I think putting those frozen apples in is going to be just amazing. So I do have half a bushel of apples to deal with. I also thought that for some of the apples, I purchased this apple cookbook last year from Piper's. There are so many great possibilities, and you can freeze your apples and still use them in many of these recipes. So I am really excited to dig into the apple book with the frozen apples that I will have. I finally also have invested in a new deep freeze. So I have a 4-foot long, I don't know how many cubic feet freezer, but the trouble that I'm having with the chest type freezer, it works great, but you have to unload it to get to the things in the bottom. I had tried putting like things in baskets, and it is grouped with like things, but because it's completely full to the top, I'm finding I have to unload the freezer to get to what I'm after, which is not good for the food, and it's not fun to have your hands freezing cold. So they were in very short supply last year. I would encourage you, if you are in the market for an upright or chest freezer, they are available. I actually purchased mine from Home Depot. I got one that is 14.1 cubic feet. I think it's about double the storage space of what I have in my chest type freezer, and that will arrive October 9th. So that's exciting. And I am also looking into, although I'm not a huge meat eater, purchasing some quarter-sized portions of a pig, a cow. I'm not really big on beef, but also chickens. So to be able to have that in the deep freeze for long-term storage so that I don't have to go purchase meat at the store. It sort of inflation proofs as well your budget, because if you purchase it now, the price is not going to go down, guys. It's just not going to go down. I am heartbroken at the price of bacon right now. And if you've noticed, the 1 pound packages of now, most of them are now 12 ounces. And I am finding about $9 for 12 ounces of bacon. I'm sorry, that's too much. So if I can purchase half of a pig, hog, whatever you call it, and get a lot of bacon that way. I do like sausage, I like pork chops, I like pork roast. I will eat those things, but I needed a better storage system. So stay tuned for the update on the deep freeze. I've already talked about the Gamma buckets and the 1-gallon jars. Do remember, guys, there is a problem with glass supply right now. Most of our glass comes from China. If you're in need of glass, get it now. I'm pretty well stocked on jars. I'm very well stocked on lids, but I may also need to purchase a little bit more in the way of the smaller jars, and especially if I can find wide mouth. All right, and then the final update. I'm not quite ready to pull the trigger because I have a lot of orders. I delivered one yesterday. This particular order is a huge order, but it's getting back to sewing season, because once I kind of button up the outside, then I have time to sew and do more crafts. So I have been working on Christmas themed mats, canning mats, mitts, table runners, and magic pillowcases. So I just wanted to show you an example. This is already spoken for. I'm not going to share all the fabrics, but I'm just going to get you guys thinking. So here is an example of a table runner. I thought this fabric was stunning. It is lined in a complementary fabric that is also holiday themed. Some of the fabric I purchased, the reverse can be a winter type fabric so that it will extend beyond just Christmas. So this has quilt batting in it. It's a nice thickness. It is completely top stitched. And I actually have the matching canning mitt completed. I am working on the double-ended hot mitt. So I have some really, really pretty fabrics that I will be sharing with you. So be looking at your Christmas list and thinking about who you want to purchase for. I think this year I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I still have all of my Christmas soaps to make.
It's a busy time here on the homestead. That's why I'm pushing to get everything outside, garden-wise, preserved, buttoned up, so that I can concentrate on indoor projects. So I will be having winter and holiday themed soaps and products that are great for stocking stuffers, a gift exchange. I mean, everybody can use soap. So I hope you'll stay tuned for the upcoming videos. I appreciate the time you've spent with me today. If you've enjoyed today's video, could you do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button? That lets me know that you're enjoying the content, and that lets YouTube know as well that there are people enjoying my channel. Leave me a comment below. What do you think about prepping for winter or for just the upcoming year? Where are you with that? And are there some topics you would like me to cover that I haven't mentioned that I plan to cover? As always, be well, be healthy, be blessed. Take care, and I'll see y'all very soon.